Gravity is all that I know. She's over me. She's over me. She comes me with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. In my heart, I can't let go, I'm breaking apart, controlling me, controlling me. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas. I'm absolutely thrilled to be your host and guide as we venture deeper into the Paranormal Portal. Hope you guys are doing great. Happy Friday to everybody out there. You made it. It's now the weekend. Kick back, grab a frosty libation of your choice, or a warm one if that's what you need, and relax, turn down the lights, grab a blankie, and to get comfy, because we've got 2 full hours of the show tonight. It's going to be hopefully great. Every show is great for me, so I mean, that's notwithstanding the fact, but I hope and endeavor to make it great for you as well. So hopefully I succeed at that, and if I don't, then just remember, you're getting what you paid for. It's free. So anyway, let's see. The phone lines will be open tonight. We'll probably gear those towards the second hour. So if you got comments or something to contribute, some paranormal experience of your very own, just please, by all means, call in second hour of the show. That'll be 720-923-0500 is the number for that. And if you've got things that you'd like to share, but you're just kind of freaked out by the whole idea of talking publicly and calling me, for some reason people get really nervous, and I don't know why, because I'm just an idiot with a microphone. So I mean, there's nothing to be intimidated by, but you can certainly email your stories as well, and you can do that by emailing paranormalportalradio@gmail.com, and that's where you send those. I check them all. I answer the phones, I answer emails. Hell, I'm kind of a secretary when you get right down to it. So there's always opportunities here, but it is Friday night. I just spent some time over the Freaky Friday show with Kev and Scotty and Nace. It was a great time, and hopefully they're going to be meandering over here too, so hopefully that's the case. Great to see everybody that is here right now, all of you in the TFR chat. There are several of you there, and those of you in the YouTube chat as well. So we are just embracing this night, and I guess we got a lot to get through tonight, so I'm trying to remember, is there anything else I wanted to mention on the front end here? But I think that's it. But I can always do it later if I remember. That's just how it works. Love to you too, Taz. How you doing? Can't get enough. Smooth Landon says. Smooth Landon. I like that name. Great to see new names, by the way. It's always fun. It's great to see the familiar names as well. Don't get me wrong. I love all of you guys, but it's cool to look up and be like, oh, that's someone new. I've not seen that one before. So somebody, Smokin' Joe in the YouTube chat says, my quest to explore ND, I imagine that's North Dakota, outdoors creeps closer. Oh, yeah, it's getting warmer, right? I found an investigator from Texas who has a family in North Dakota and does research for BFYO. And I creep ever closer. Okay, well, good. I hope if you get out there and do some research and you find some great stuff, you'll come on the show and share it with us. That would be fantastic. And that's always the case, folks. If you've got things that you want to bring to the public table, by all means, I'd be happy to have you here on the shows. It's always awesome to talk with you guys one-on-one and in person. And we can always have you on as a guest on the podcast. That's the other thing I did want to mention is the Paranormal Portal is also a podcast. This is a YouTube show. This is not the podcast. So if you ever hear me mentioning, hey, check out the Paranormal Portal podcast, you're not doing that right now. You're visiting the YouTube live streams. And I feel like I have to make a distinction. In some shows, like the Joe Rogan, they do the live streaming and they simulcast it as a podcast as well. But our podcasts are separate shows entirely. So if you haven't checked out our podcast because you figure, I watch the YouTube, I'm already catching that anyway. Well, those are actually separate shows, and those are separate interviews with people that have had experiences, and sometimes it's just discussions about the phenomenon, just like here. But most often they are interviews with people who've had experiences. So I would encourage you to check them out if you haven't, and hopefully you'll love it just as much as you hopefully love this show. And you can find it on all the major platforms. It's iHeart, iTunes, Pandora, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, Castbox, and a whole bunch more. So I hope you'll do that. But anyway, I guess we are underway here, and about the best place to start is it's time for the news. Welcome to the Paranormal Portal News Desk, folks. And the reason that I play the applause, just so you know, those listeners on TFR, iHeart, Tune In, and TalkStream Live, they can't hear the whoa, whoa, whoa because of the way the sound is routed and the carriers that are used to go to different places. And those of you that are newer to the show, you may not know what the hell I'm talking about, but the show right now is being simulcast on Truth Frequency Radio or TFRlive.com, as well as iHeartRadio, Tune In, and TalkStream Live on the Truth Frequency Radio channels, respectively, on all of those platforms. So some of the sounds that I play for you that you guys hear on YouTube, they can't hear anything on those other connections. So I got to give them something to listen to other than dead silence. So I figure, how nice is that to have an applause track on your news? I mean, it's because it's not fake. That's why. We don't do fake news here on the portal. We do the real stuff. This is the real paranormal news. And first up, we got a bunch of stuff to go through here. Jesus, I don't know why they do this. The first thing is some weird stuff that was seen on the moon, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen. And as many of you or most of you probably know, that we are not alone in our exploration.
Hi there. It's Les Schwab Tires. During the Les Schwab Founder Celebration Sale, save up to $150.
Jesus God. Well, I don't think we're going to show that. it's some weird crap that popped up on their link, but it was supposed to be a Chinese rover took a weird picture on the far side of the moon, and I was going to share it with you guys and then put the link into the TFR for those guys, but instead we got a bunch of plug-in ads playing automatically. So no, we're going to scrap that piece of news and move right along. God, that scared the hell out of me. I about got to scrape my underwear here. Wasn't ready for that. Yeah. All right. I'm recomposing myself here, so just bear with me. Deep breathe. All right. Let's get on to other more newsworthy events. And I don't know what the picture was. I hadn't looked at it yet. I just saw the headlines like, oh, let's show that. But let's go to know the news we do know. And here's a report from some of the best witnesses, I think, of UFO phenomena. And that's not to degrade anybody, but there are some people who that come out as witnesses that you really go, wow, you really saw that. And it tends to hold more credibility in the public eye than Joe Average. Like even, if I tell you, hey, I saw a flying saucer, which I did, that to you may or may not have any meaning or any bearing or do anything to sway your opinion of the subject. But when people like pilots come forward, and these are professional airline pilots come forward and say, hey, we saw this and I don't know what the hell it is, that carries more weight because these guys are, first of all, they're people that are in the sky all the time. They're flying. They're trained observers to know and identify things in the airspace around them. And when they say they see something that they can't explain, that means a lot. And so here we have a report coming from, let me close that before it starts making noise too. This is a report coming from, it's from unexplained-mysteries.com, and the article is Airline Pilot Encounters Cylindrical UFO. And another side thing that I find pretty interesting is that there seems to be like cycles to these sightings. Like it seemed for a long time, like in the 50s, everybody was seeing flying saucers. That was it seems like the majority of the reports were flying saucers. Saucers here, saucers there. Then came the cigar-shaped or the tube-looking ones, and then triangles, and then orbs are real common as well now. But sometimes we don't hear as many of these cylindrical UFOs now, and so that's interesting to me. And I don't know if the shape of a craft is indicative of the people that made and are piloting it, or if, it's just one of those things that they can just create the shape they want and go with it. But let's see what this says. It says a pilot of an American Airlines flight reported an unidentified object over New Mexico on Sunday. And this was literally, this is posted on Thursday, the 25th of February, so yesterday. 2021. Says the passenger jet, which had been flying from Cincinnati to Phoenix, encountered what the pilot described as a long cylindrical object at around 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. Do you have any targets up here? The pilot asked in a radio transmission at the time. We just had something go right over the top of us. I hate to say this, but it looked like a long cylindrical object, and that almost looked like a cruise missile type of thing, moving really fast. It went right over the top of us. American Airlines later confirmed to Fox News that the encounter had been genuine, but neglected to speculate over what the object could have been or whether it was extraterrestrial in origin. Following a debrief with our flight crew and additional information received, we can confirm this radio transmission was from American Airlines Flight 2292 on February 21st, said a spokesman or a spokesperson. But for any additional questions at this time, we encourage you to reach out to the FBI. So far, however, the FBI has not provided its own take on what had happened. According to Public Affairs Chief Scott Steams of New Mexico's White Sands Missile Range, no tests had been conducted on that date, and the plane had been 400 miles from the base. We have no idea what it could have been or if anything similar has been sighted in that area before, he said. So that's pretty powerful. Now, we don't have any images or any pictures to show you or to display. I don't know that any exist. I think maybe we should put those dash cams on these planes, though, and see what turns up over a whole year of recording that stuff. I'm sure, 99% of it would be absolutely boring and nothing, but on the one chance that would be the time something would pop up, I'm just saying that would, if it was me, that'd be my play. I'm pretty sure that those dash cams are going to be the next Patterson-Gimlin film will come from a dash cam, because so many of the sightings from Bigfoot happen as people are driving along and they see something hairy and big crossing roads, and it doesn't look like any of the natural fauna people are used to. So that's probably going to be the source of a lot of stuff as the influx of cameras become more and more a part of our lives. Then probably more and more of the stuff will get captured. But that's our first article tonight. I don't know what you think. Do you think they're out there? Well, I do, because I've seen them. I know that I've seen things. Here's some terrible. This is just terrible. I don't even know. I don't know what to do about this, because it's actually kind of heartbreaking. And it's just basically stupidity. And I don't mean to be so condescending and judgmental about it, but this is one of those things you just got to wonder, what the hell are people thinking? And what I'm talking about is an article from unexplained-mysteries.com. Woman goes blind after tattooing eyeballs black. That poor girl. Oh my God. I know that there's a method for doing that, for dyeing the white area, or I don't know if that's the sclera or what is that called, but the white area of the eyes. People think it's kind of freaky and cool to dye it black, but if it's done improperly, you'll get results like this, and you can't undo it. It's one of those stupid things. It's like, that's a one-way road. Once you've done it, it's done. So here it is. 25-year-old Polish model lost most of her eyesight after having a tattoo artist dye the whites of her eyes black. God, I hope it's reversible. That poor girl. Alexandra Sadowska had been hoping to imitate the look of a rap artist, Popek, who had also undergone the same transformation by having her eyeballs tattooed with black ink. After having gone through with the excruciating procedure, however, she started to experience severe pains and ended up going blind in one eye and partially blind in the other. It soon became clear that the tattoo artist, who had initially dismissed her symptoms as normal, had managed to use the wrong type of ink, leaving Sadowska with permanent eye damage. Oh, God. I'm legally blind. That doesn't mean I can't see completely, she said. My right eye is quite blind, and the left sees partially. Has a defect of 10 diopters, cataracts, damaged cornea, and nerve, which caused narrowed field of view. The tattoo artist, who is known as Pete 3A, now faces up to 3 years in prison. Ugh. There is clear evidence that the tattoo artist did not know how to perform such a delicate procedure, said Sadowska's lawyer, and yet he decided to perform it, which led to this tragedy. Oh, God. Ugh. It's just a cringer. Is it paranormal? No, but I don't know. It's just horrible. And I don't know. It's one of those things. It's a silly decision. It should have gone completely different, but it's going to have lifelong effects for that poor girl. So, wow, that's so tragic. Very, very tragic. All right. I'm only chuckling because I could say things that would be completely wildly inappropriate. And I'm not going to do that. So, because it's a family show, and that's how my mind works. All right. Let's go to the next one here. Let me clear this one and see what else we got. Now, this is interesting. I only saw the headlines of this one, so I'm a lot of times I'm really curious to see what these say, just as much as you guys may be, or hopefully you are. But here's one from, unexplained-mysteries.com. Deceased 83-year-old comes back to life. A Ukrainian woman who was pronounced dead in her home shocked doctors when she woke up 10 hours later. Oof, 10 hours. Wow. Paramedics have been called out to the home of Ksenia Duduk, who hails from Syrizyavka in the Ukraine by her daughter, Tatiana Portamchenko, after she took ill last week. When medics arrived, they were sadly unable to save her, and she died soon afterwards. The family went about making arrangements for her funeral, but about 10 hours later, the 83-year-old suddenly started to stir, prompting paramedics to rush her to a local hospital. Incredibly, she appeared to make a complete recovery and was soon wide awake and speaking. During her near-death experience, Ksenia claimed that she had seen the kingdom of heaven and that she had heard her father, who had died many years earlier, calling out to her. My eyes opened, and people in white were standing around me, she said. I thought they were angels, but these were doctors. Apparently God had mercy on me. The death certificate had been issued, was torn up after the news of her recovery, which is probably good practice. I've been working as a doctor for 20 years, but I have not seen anything like this, said Vinnytsia Regional Hospital Deputy Medical Officer Dr. Tetiana Katalova. I should probably spend time with these articles prior to going live. Anyway, it's part of the fun is just watching me try to struggle to pronounce things that I have no business trying to pronounce. All right, so that's kind of cool. I think that near-death experiences are really powerful. I would love to hear everything of which this person saw, because I think they may be some of the most convincing proof of the survival of life that we can offer, or that can be offered, because these people, by all counts and measures, were done. They were done, including brain death. In fact, one of the most interesting or powerful, I would say, one of the most powerful witnesses of this near-death experience and believing in the afterlife is a neurosurgeon who had died and had come back. And he now apparently goes around and talks about it, because before that he was like, yeah, when it's done, it's done. Lights go out, the house is empty. But he had an experience, a very powerful experience, and is an absolute proponent of the idea that life continues. And I think that's beautiful. I think that that's a very comforting thing to take with us in this journey, because, man, because you look at your life and you look at all the struggles, and it's like, is this really as good as it's going to get? It's got to get better than this somewhere, right? So anyway, that's enough of me improv-ing that conversation. But I think that's fascinating. 10 hours is a long time. I imagine the person probably came back maybe after a few minutes, but didn't stir for several hours. I can't imagine they were actually dead for 10 hours, because I don't know how would you avoid the brain damage and muscle damage and all the damage to the to our central nervous system just with no oxygen. I don't know how that would work. So probably the case. But anyway, very powerful stuff. And I think I got one more. So you ever heard that survival advice that if you ever run out of water for a long period of time, one of the things that has been recommended, at least by some, is to perhaps drink your own urine. That might be the thing that pulls you through and gets you to the point where you can get help or get water or whatever. However, if you're this woman, you might not want to do that, or you might really want to do it. It depends on your take. But here's her story, and this is from unexplained-mysteries.com. Woman urinates alcohol in world first case. You heard that right, folks. She apparently pees alcohol. A 61-year-old has been diagnosed with a unique condition that causes her bladder to act like a brewery. The woman, who hails from Pennsylvania, had been on a liver transplant list for years due to existing medical conditions, but was repeatedly rejected due to the presence of alcohol in her urine, something that doctors kept assuming was due to an ongoing addiction problem. Frustrated with the situation and ignoring advice to seek out help for alcohol abuse, she took things into her own hands and sought the advice at the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center. After conducting tests, specialists found no trace of ethyl glucose. I don't know, ethyl whatever, or ethyl sulfate, two substances typically associated with the consumption of alcohol. They also found no sign of ethanol in her blood. Well, this begged the question, where was the alcohol in her urine actually coming from? The answer, it turned out, was that the woman was suffering from a never-before-seen condition, now known as bladder fermentation syndrome, which caused her bladder to act like a brewery due to the excess sugar from her diabetes, combined with a certain strain of yeast known as Candida glabrata, or what's that? Yeah, glabrata, I guess. I think the biggest reason for the patient to develop this condition is her poorly controlled diabetes, because the bladder environment with high levels of glucose is definitely an optimistic condition for the growth and activity of the yeast. Study author Kenichi Tamara told IFL Science. Fortunately, the woman is now receiving treatment to rid her of the condition. With any luck, she'll finally be eligible for the liver transplant she so desperately needs. Wow, so that's so tragic. This woman was on the list, and she came up as a possible recipient, but then they did the tests and found out, nope, sorry, you've been drinking again. You got a problem. Well, how frustrating would that be? She's, like, I don't drink. What do you do with that? And I'm sure, it's like most doctors be like, yeah, sure you don't drink. Absolutely. And here she was not drinking. It was her bladder. Her bladder was doing it. Wow. Well, that's the kind of news that we love here on the Paranormal Portal, because that is pretty paranormal. But that poor woman, God, we've seen some real wingers with that one woman was pronounced dead, and she was fine and alive, but had to go through court several times to try to lift her deceased status. Now this woman, her bladder makes alcohol, and she got kicked off the list a few times because she had alcohol in her urine. Oh man, these poor people. But anyway, I don't know, folks, but I can tell you, that's the news. All right, folks, there you have it. That is the news. Let me look at the clock here and see where we're at. Yeah, we got just a minute, roughly, till break, if the clocks are timed right, if everything's lining up, if the moon is in the whatever astrological place it should be. I don't know. I was trying to be funny there, but I don't know enough about astrology to make that joke happen. It's great to see all you guys coming in, though. Thank you so much for being here. As always, this is always an adventure in storytelling here on the portal. For the news, I just kind of go and pull up a bunch of random things and just have fun with it. But I hope you guys like the news segment. It's something kind of different and fun for the show. I'm just watching the clock now to see when we'll actually hit the break, because I've heard that it's not quite in sync, but we'll see. We'll see where it ends up. And remember, we have to take the breaks because we are on those other networks that I discussed earlier, and those networks take half-hour breaks. So those of you on YouTube, I've created these videos, or video breaks, so that we can go through them. You can watch them instead of hearing commercials. But no, we should be at break now, but it's not at break. But I'm listening. I don't know which one I listen to. Do I listen to the clock, or do I listen to the sound? I don't know. I'm confused. Well, there's the bell. It's close enough, folks. We'll be right back in just a couple minutes. Don't go away for more of the Paranormal Portal. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are into half hour two. We're cruising, man. It's going fast. I love it when it happens. Sound is awesome on YouTube. Oh, thanks, Smoking Joe. Thank you very much. I'm glad you like it. Yeah, I think it sounds pretty good too. Thank you. Who was it? Disco Beaver, funky music. That's cool. You know, when you're hearing music on the show, it's all stuff that I've written, and it's not because I wanted to showcase me. Let's have more of me. I'll put on my music, but it's because as I started doing the shows on YouTube, I was getting hit all the time. I used to play different songs and from different artists and stuff, but I kept getting pounded by it. It's like, no, copyright. And so I was like, okay, well, you know, I can't do that. It was prior to being monetized or anything. So it was like, well, you know what? I know I can use the songs that I made. And, you know, so that's what I've done for the show. But it is, you know, it really isn't an ego play. I just want to make sure that that's clear because it was just my opportunity to go, well, I know I can use these. Nobody's going to argue with me because they're things that I wrote. So there you have it. That's why they're there. And hope that that's okay. But we got some more stuff to get into here. We're going to dive into a bunch of different things tonight, folks. I've got a whole, like, really a big mixed bag of goodness. And, well, first is an article that I thought was really interesting. You know, because this is something I feel pretty strongly about. I think when you look back into history and when you look back into what has happened on this world, there's the traditional historical views that, you know, okay, like 15, 20,000 years ago, people kind of started to form civilizations. They started to carve or organized communities together and started to advance and really pull humanity out of the, you know, out into the, you know, the final stretch of separating ourselves from the world around us. You know, like we created our technologies, we created our sciences, and our, you know, advancements kept coming, and then came rules by which to live, and some are in the form of monarchies and some in the form of governments that we still use today. But then we started digging, and when we dug, we found, well, there's a lot of other stuff in the dirt that doesn't make sense because it's not just 2, 3, 4, 10,000 years old. We're digging stuff that may very well come from hundreds of thousands of years ago, or millions even years ago, or you know, some claims there's hundreds of millions of years ago. We covered the London Hammer on Wednesday's show as part of talking about artifacts out of time, or I don't know. And so there seems to be another history that happened here when you look at Gulbenkian Temple and all of the other advanced things that were done with apparently brass tools on, you know, granite. Somehow they were able to machine these laser precision blocks of granites, hundreds of tons in size, and, you know, manipulate them into place, and et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of things that don't line up following the traditional narratives. And so I think really there's probably another history or you know, maybe many histories. And it almost seems as if there's these periods of reboot. And I don't know what else to say. I mean, either what happened is somebody else was here before we scratched out our civilizations and our you know, societies. Maybe something else was here, someone else. And they did what they did, and they became so advanced that maybe they started to walk the stars. Maybe they took off, and we were the next ones in line that had an idea what we're doing, so we kind of took over the vacuum left in their absence. Or maybe people have risen up and become advanced, And then for whatever reason, maybe it's self-induced, or maybe there's some guiding force that's going, here comes a flood, here comes a meteor or something, and you guys are going to start over because this isn't okay. It's like, go to your room and think about it. And we end up with these resets where, once again, we have to figure it all out again and scratch it all together and figure out something. And hopefully we don't repeat the same mistakes. But, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm not opposed to the ancient astronaut ideas that maybe we had a lot of help in these distant histories. But, our traditional scientists don't acknowledge this. And they're not willing to, and maybe they're right. Maybe they're right in not doing it. But I think there's enough things that have poked up, that enough questions have been raised, that you can't just negate the existence of these things or conveniently just shuffle them away because they don't fall into the narrative. So you brush away the pieces that don't fit, and you just make this smaller puzzle with the pieces that do. So what I got here is an article from a site called Mysteries Are Unsolved. And this is, I don't know, I hope it's a good article, but it's, did another advanced civilization exist on Earth before humans? So we're going to dig into this and see what it has to say. It says, Graham Hancock is considered a connoisseur when it comes to advanced human societies before the one we know. That is, the mother culture that preceded later ancient civilizations. Although the idea of ancient civilizations and their possible technology is considered by some to be pseudoscientific, that there are many indications that reveal a possible use of advanced technological mechanisms in the remote past, if we eliminate the idea of aliens who came to instruct our ancestors, some of the ideas that Hancock has contributed over time remain as a result. And there he is right there. For those of you that are on YouTube, you can see it. But his story tells us that humans' pre-primitive achievements were not technologically advanced, but the megaliths and artifacts and thought processes, as best as can be determined, that appear strangely out of sync with what was achieved by our ancient ancestors. This indicates something that may have preceded what our civilization was capable of, and what it accomplished somewhat after about 10,000 BC. The underground and underwater structures and some blatant artifacts would seem to have a premise based on the knowledge that was once known and showing up in situ or in ancient texts that have gone missing because of human destruction or environmental catastrophes. The fire that wiped out the works of the Library of Alexandria in 48 BC, or the eruption of Vesuvius, 79 AD, not to mention the Great Flood registered on ancient texts as mythic event that destroyed the known world. The Göbekli Tepe structures indicate a pre-10,000 society with interesting and out-of-sync mindset just before the Sumerian or Mesopotamian societies appeared, from which we have records and evidence. If one takes Eric von Daniken's theories of chariots of the gods and supplants them, replace them with Graham Hancock's thinking, the idea of an earlier, brighter humanity was extant on Earth. On the Earth, one will have something not as rabid as the E.T. thesis. But what could happen to that brilliant and amazing ancient human civilizations? It is a very difficult answer to give. However, as in any society that reaches a high point, problems like environmental adversities, overpopulation, wars, etc. arise. And although we do not have an answer to this enigma, we can sketch some possibilities by observing the current scenario and complementing it with the past findings. Possibly history repeats itself in the history of our civilization. And that's a great point. I mean, that's kind of my thinking, I guess, too. It's a very, very short article. I didn't realize it was so chock full of not much. But in any case, it is curious. It's very interesting. I don't know. There's something missing in this whole puzzle. There's something missing in the whole lens of things, and it's certainly. Our history is much more bountiful or it's much more grand and so much of a bigger scale than the one that is traditionally accepted in our societies. So again, going back to the London Hammer, 300 or 400 million year old strata or rock that somehow encased this, what looks like an old miner's hammer from the 1800s or earlier, along with, apparently there was like machined aluminum was found, like pieces were found right in the vicinity right next to like mastodon skeletons when they were unearthing them. So how did this machined aluminum get there? And then of course we covered the Swiss watch ring that was found in the Chinese tomb that was, some 400 or 500 years ago was the last time it was opened. And how did that get there? And there's other things, and we're going to get to some of those other things too. Another article I found which looks really interesting, and I haven't read it, but it's talking about nanostructures that were found as well. And this is the curious stuff about this mysteries of history, as if you will. And I don't know what you guys think, but to me it just makes sense. There's something more that has been going on here for quite a while. It's just we're not given that scope for it. But here is the next article in this line of thinking. And I found this absolutely brilliant because when you think of nano engineering, that's just something, I guess, of the last 20 some years that we're aware of. That people have been going to the microscopic scale, assembling things that, tools and machines that could exist, about the size of a head of a pin. And could do, even such ideas as, releasing smart robots into people's bodies to attack cancer and stuff like that. Or repair, or remove damaged cells from areas like, for those with like lung tissue damage or whatever. There's so many. It's now part of our current modern world and is in development as such. But when you hear ancient nanostructures found in the Ural Mountains, wow. That's a head scratcher right there. And that's where we're going next. Again, from the same website, Mysteries Are Unsolved. Excuse me. Hold on. There we are. It says in 1991, when a team of archaeologists were conducting a geological research of gold extraction in the Ural Mountains of Russia, they were totally shocked to discover numerous strange and mysterious microscopic objects near the bank of Kozim in Narada and Balbanyu rivers, on nanostructures from beyond our time. The ancient nanostructures found in the Ural Mountains, the tiny structures are believed to have been the products of an extremely ancient civilization that was supposedly capable of developing nanotechnology about 300,000 years ago. Oof. That just blows me away. The strange nano pieces are metal coils, spirals, and shafts among a list of unidentified components unearthed during the geological missions in the Ural Mountains. The pieces were embedded in 100,000-year-old rock. The age of these mysterious nanostructures has placed them in the list of out-of-place artifacts, or UPARTs, given the fact that researchers estimate them to be 300,000 years old. UPART is a unique and little understood object found in the historical, archaeological, or paleontological records, which fall into the anomalous category. To say these objects have been found when and where they should not be, and thus challenge the conventional understanding in history. Though the mainstream researchers have always drawn a simple and rational conclusion to these strange artifacts, many believe UPARTs may even reveal that humanity had a different degree of civilization or sophistication than described and understood by officials in academia. Some even think that the extraterrestrial intelligent beings are the reason behind the existence of UPARTs. To this day, researchers have found dozens of such UPARTs, including the Antikythera mechanism, the main penny, the Shroud of Turin, Baghdad battery, Saqqara bird, Ica stone, stone spheres of Costa Rica, London hammer, Nazca lines, and many more. And here's some other images. I'm going to put a link to this in the TFR for those that are not on YouTube, that they can see, at least take a look at some of these images that are included here. And again, these are allegedly nanoparticles. I don't know how big they are, but some of them you can tell are very, very magnified. But others, I don't know if they are as small as they're leading them to believe. But it is very curious. It says the Russian Academy of Science in Syktyvkar, sound like I just fell down some stairs there, didn't it? Had conducted several tests on these mysterious nano objects, and the results were quite interesting, as they found the largest pieces being made of pure copper, whereas the smallest ones from tungsten and it says molybdenum. I don't even know how to pronounce that. Molybdenum. The metals that have been used in the spacecrafts and missiles due to the ability to withstand high temperatures. The smallest one's length is only 1/10,000th of an inch. So if you had an inch, you'd have to separate an inch by 10,000 equal segments, and it would be one of those. I mean, that's way smaller than a hair, right? Oh, that's amazing. Later, these strange materials were submitted to extensive research at facilities in Helsinki, St. Petersburg, and Moscow to find out more about their origins and compositions. Now, it's clear to the scientists that the metals have not originated in nature on their own, meaning that they are components that have an artificial technological origin. In other words, they were manufactured. Do these nanostructures belong to the rocket parts? At first, there was speculation that the nano and nano-sized structures were parts that had fallen from rockets from a launch in there's another great word, Plesetsk. It's like I'm doing a drum machine over here. But a report in 1996 ruled that possibility out, saying these structures were found at far too great a depth. It says, since the World War era, the Ural Mountains have frequently come up with a number of mysterious events, the most famous of which is the Dyatlov Pass incident, where a group of trained Russian hikers were all found dead under the mysterious circumstances. Since then, there have been so many conspiracy theories behind their deaths, but the incident still remains a mystery. The area has infamy for shamanism, Yeti, and numerous UFO sightings. Now, the ancient astronaut theorists believe that the site of the Ural Mountains, from where the strange nanostructures were discovered, is the evidence of an alien presence hundreds of thousands of years ago. Wow. And there is a video that's included with this, but I obviously am not going to play that. But I gotta say they did a hell of a job on this article. But I will put it in. I did already put it in the TFR chat, but I'll put it in the YouTube chat as well if anybody wants to check out the included video after the show, of course, because nobody'd want to leave the Paranormal Portal in order to just watch a silly video, right? Nobody would do that. But very interesting. Now, whatever side of the coin you're on, I think some of the artifacts out of time or out of place artifacts, I think there can be a wild amount of speculation that is inserted into those, but there are some real curiosities. Now, I don't know any more about these nanostructures in the Ural Mountains than what I just read to you right now. I was like today old when I learned about it, and so I don't know if there's another angle to this, another whole side, another argument to it, and I'm not pretending that there couldn't be. But the point being that this may very well be some incredible proof of this hidden history, this ancient mysteries that we don't know anything about. And the funny thing is when you think about things like this, so you think about things like the biblical reference of like the Ark of the Covenant was this amazing weapon that was apparently carried around, and whoever held it in battle would remain victorious or would emerge victorious. Well, what if it was some kind of incredibly profound technological device, it was only to be handled very specifically by certain people wearing certain garments when they did pull it out. So is that protective equipment? Is that like radioactive gear keeping them safe while, the other people are being microwaved out there? I don't know, but there does seem to be at least some possibility of a precedent for there having been some incredible technological abilities in our ancient past and some such things like this. Now, if you think about things like, magic, the history of magic was very, very, very closely guarded. Even things like gunpowder and pyrotechnics and things like that. The old traditions of making fireworks, for instance, were very, very carefully guarded and kept in only the highest amount of secrecy. So it's possible that some of these little nooks and crannies of our history, which maybe had to do with secret societies and stuff, perhaps they were continuing on with advances of a former age. And that was their secret. That was their claim to their power and their ability. And maybe these things are possible. Again, I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything. I'm just thinking out loud as we talk here. But, there is some serious things to consider when looking at the past, when looking at, what would be deemed as miraculous events of the past and things like, and I'm not trying to take anything away from religion, but just think just for a moment, suspend belief and think about things of, ancient stories of, these mighty heroes overcoming these incredible monsters and giants and, like Moses leading the slaves out of Egypt and separating the Red Sea and stuff. I mean, what if there was a technological back on that and it wasn't as much this grand miraculous event as it was an exercise of technology? Now, I personally like to believe in the spirit and all of the powers of the spirit and the fact that we are incredibly potent, powerful manifestors of reality and can do incredible, incredible things by virtue of our birthright, which is, divine right. However, I'm just throwing it out there that maybe there is a precedent for these things that carried on into our more modern age, but maybe those secrets died out with the practitioners of those arts, if you will. And now today we're just relearning them finally. Our scientists have finally stumbled onto these same things, and maybe we're just recreating the same wheel we've made hundreds of times before. But it's food for thought, because there's more to this, and that's one thing about doing the Paranormal Portal. The one thing that it's really taught me is there's always so much more going on with the big picture than what we think. And it's true for spirits and hauntings. It's true for UFOs. It's true for cryptids. It's true for everything. And so why wouldn't it be true for technology or ancient technologies that may still survive or have at least begun being dug up in these bits and pieces? Hard to say, just throwing out a whole bunch of ideas. With all the evidence and artifacts, it's hard to believe that the majority of people still don't believe in the ancient astronaut theory. I agree, Mike. I think there's at least a strong potential for it. I think that there's so much that has gone on, and if you're not familiar with Ancient Aliens on History Channel, that might not make sense to you. But if you watch Ancient Aliens on History Channel, you'll at least become familiar with the ancient astronaut theories that these super advanced alien or extraterrestrials came and helped the ancient peoples of Earth and helped them form societies, helped them form the sciences, and started us on this journey. And so I think there's definitely a precedent for it, for sure. But it's all up to you to figure out for yourself. Again, I'm not trying to plant any ideas into it, but we're almost at hour number 2 now. During hour number 2, if you want to call in and be a part of the show, please feel free. Second hour is right upon us, so if you've got something to share, would like to come on the show and tell me what you're thinking, you've got a paranormal experience, you got some ideas about what we've been discussing, by all means, again, 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500. Oh, there's a call on there already. All right, Jim, we'll get to you when we come back on the other side. but I'm not sure exactly when the break's going to pick up here, but I'm just ready for it anytime now. But anyway, there's lots more to come. We've got a bunch more. But I hope you enjoyed that discussion about these ancient technologies and potentials and possibilities. And let me know in the comments what you think about that, because we don't talk about that a whole lot here on the show. We more tend to talk about UFOs, ghosts, cryptids, most commonly. But I love this subject. I'm fascinated by this subject, and I think that there's a lot to unpack, a lot to uncover and discuss here on the show. If you'd like me to do more of that, please let me know, because I want to bring you the show you guys want to see. And I can go either direction on any of this stuff. I love it all. But that's certainly one we haven't visited too much. And maybe because there's other people that are doing a phenomenal job doing that themselves. And I like discussing those things. And we can certainly do a lot more of that here on the show. But waiting for the bell to let me know. And then we'll go to break. We'll be right back in just a couple minutes, folks, with the hour number 2 right here on the Paranormal Portal. So don't go away.
Play their games. Everybody loves to place their bets. They don't understand the price I paid. They don't care to comprehend. Trace their lines upon my body, flipping scars across my heart. Raging anger boils inside me as their lies keep falling apart. Finished with my silence. I am not a stupid boy. No more breaking me with kindness. Just you dance upon my joy. Leading me with empty promise. You're just another fucking mess. Taking off the slice of my sanity, just make sure that you're well fed. I'm not wrong yet. I'm not talking yet. I'm not talking yet.
I can't see you, Mommy. Where are you? I've never sensed anything like it. Caroline is not like those she's with. They're attracted to the one thing about her that is different from themselves. Her life force. It is very strong. It gives off its own illumination. It is a light that implies life and memory of love and home and earthly pleasures. Something they desperately desire, but can't have anymore. Right now, she's the closest thing to that.
Poltergeists are usually associated with an individual. Hauntings seem to be connected with an area. A house, usually.
Poltergeist disturbances are fairly short duration, perhaps a couple of months. Hauntings can go on for years.
Did you miss me? Because we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Hour number 2 begins now, right here on the Paranormal Portal, and we've got a lot more ground to cover. But first up, we got a call. And the first call is coming from, I think this is Jim, but let me get it unmuted here. Area code 778. Is that you, Jim?
Oh, yeah. Hi. Yeah, it's Jim from British Columbia again.
Hi.
Yeah, Jim. I've just, about a year ago, I was convinced of the ancient aliens hypothesis because I watched one guy on YouTube has convinced me. His name is Uncharted X, is his channel name.
Okay.
And he's mainly into Egyptology, and he nails it. He has a very good scientific method. He shows you with your own eyes. He shows it right in front of your face. He puts measuring instruments up to these ancient Egyptian stone works.
Okay.
He puts the measuring devices right up to it, and he shows you in front of your own eyes. You see it. The establishment Egyptologists are out to lunch. They are way off base. You can disprove them easily. They're easily disproven. And this goes for all the megalithic structures in South America and Egypt and so on and everywhere else. You can disprove their whole theory about this stuff. Easy as heck. Okay, now I want to ask you one question, Brent. Can you see Mount Baker from your place?
No, I'm in Idaho over here. So isn't that over by Washington?
That's what I thought. I thought you were in Idaho, yeah. But I don't want to dox you.
No, it's okay. I'm in the north tip of Idaho, though. But I don't think there's a Mount Baker around here. I'm not a native, so I'm a transplant, so I'm not familiar with all the names. But no.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
I just had to ask that.
Okay.
Yeah, the ancient aliens thing. Now, okay, so you mentioned these nanomaterials that have been found under the ground.
Yes.
I'm very interested in that because I haven't heard anything about that, but my first degree was in materials engineering, so I'm familiar with the nanomaterials and all that. Over.
Are you there?
I'm still here, yeah.
Oh,
I
okay.
just, with this delay, it's tricky.
Oh no, you just keep talking. I'll work my way in there if I need to.
Yeah, the Russians, the thing is, the Russians do their own science, and it's separate from Western science, from our science. They do some weird stuff in Russia. They've done some really peculiar science, and I pay attention to it. Gosh, I even joined the Russian Facebook, and It's a funny place. There's not much going on there, but the reason I joined the Russian Facebook was I wanted to get inside their universities and figure out what are they doing over there, because they're doing different science over there, man. And I listened to some Russians, and gosh, they're off on their own trips.
Now, can you tell me when did, according to established news and thinking, when did we start doing nano constructions, like making things on the nano scale? Can you comment to that?
Yeah. Now, okay, nano composites is a good term. When I was doing metallurgy back in the 1970s, okay, those were not a thing. We were not doing that in the 1970s. The only composite material that was common back then was fiberglass. And then, when did we actually start getting products? Well, carbon fiber is a good one. Although that's not nano, it is a composite material. Now, though, right, if we go right up to date in material science, we find these nano composites. They're called ceramic nano composites, are being used inside jet engines. They haven't. They're being tested inside jet engines right now, and these are phenomenal. These are an incredible new material. They could have come from alien science. I don't know that, but they are amazing materials beyond metal alloys. You see, I studied metal alloys, and metal alloys are going out because the nano composites are superior in properties to metal alloys. So we're going to see more and more of these composite materials everywhere. Over.
That's amazing. That is amazing stuff. I find that absolutely phenomenally interesting as well. I don't have the mind for it. Like, I don't have a basis of knowledge enough to have a competent discussion about it. But the whole idea of, I remember when I worked for the university system back in the 90s and in the 2000s, I started over there, but like 2007, and they started a program at the community college I worked at doing IT. They started a community college program for nano science and stuff, and basically it was to gear up people not to necessarily be the researchers, but to be a part of the nano construction and the utilization of the nanotechnology in our marketplace, more or less. Does that make sense? I hope, but I thought that was interesting.
Absolutely, yes, you're right on there. Yeah, I would say around the year 2000 was the beginning of exploration with nano materials, nano composites, and they've been coming out slowly. They have to be tested, and like right now they're running jet engines with these materials right in the center of the engine, where you need the highest properties available, and they're running them in jet engines, but carefully, because they can't put them in full production because they could blow up at any minute, and we don't know. So we have to test these materials very thoroughly before we put them in a jet engine, because if that fails, people die, right? This is one thing that engineers know, and this is why I say I'm an engineer. I'm not a scientist, because I have more respect for engineering than for pure science, personally. Because I say engineers are the adults of the society, because we take it very, very seriously. We don't want to kill anybody. That's step one. The first thing you got to assume in engineering is don't kill anybody, because if you make a mistake, people die, and a lot of scientists, because I listen to a lot of science lectures, and some scientists don't get that. They're playing around. They're playing around like children. They're not grown-ups. They don't realize the results of what they're doing. So anyways, over.
No, that's good. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate your input on the subject, because, again, I don't pretend to know a whole lot, but I find it absolutely fascinating. And I'm sure it's the way of the future, whatever that means. But, we're going to see more and more of this as a part of our life now, but it's just so interesting that they're finding it in 100,000-year-old rock in the Ural Mountains. That just bakes my bacon right there.
Yeah, I hope you can put a link to that later under this show so I can check it out. I've not seen that at all.
Okay, yeah.
That's interesting.
There is apparently a video that is included with it, but I'm going to see if it's still... Yeah, I think there it is. I just put it in the YouTube chat now, a link in there. So, yeah, check it out, brother, and let me know what you think.
Yeah, great. Good stuff, man. Love it.
All
yeah,
right.
I like that stuff. I just, I was not convinced by... Who's that old Austrian guy who wrote Gold of the Gods and Pyramids of the Gods and all that? What's that guy's name?
Eric von Daniken?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, when I first read his books, I was not convinced at all.
Uh-huh.
But in the last maybe 2 years ago, I started watching more of that, and now I get it. And yes, I get it totally, man. There was a pre-existing civilization on this planet that had high technology, and we don't know what the heck we're doing. This is why, for that reason and a bunch of other reasons, I call this a proto-civilization. What we have now is not a proper civilization at all, for many reasons. And I debate this with the professors of philosophy and people with degrees in philosophy. I argue with them, and I say, this is not civilization, man. Are you kidding me? That's a silly thing to say. I mean, we still have war. We have the threat of nuclear holocaust. We have these threats, these environmental threats to our extinction. And these people are talking like, oh, this is civilization. No, it's not. Give me a break, man. This is not civilization. Over.
Yeah, I like your radio vernacular there, so I know when you're done talking. But yeah, no, I appreciate you calling in. I appreciate you calling in a bunch, man. And please, anytime you got something to say, call in. Yeah,
okay. I got lots to say. I'm a motor mouth. I apologize for that.
Okay.
If you want to continue from our discussion last night.
Oh, sure, we can. I got another call, but sure, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Now, we got into this. Okay. The voice in my left ear told me to slow down, and I did, and I lived rather than died. So where did that voice come from? Becomes the question. And I ask myself this question. How did that happen? Well, there's a number of possibilities. Now, I am aware of ghosts. I've had a number of ghost experiences. So, the evidence of ghosts has been right in front of my eyes. I cannot deny that there is an afterlife. I cannot deny that. I've experienced it,
Sure.
Now, okay, but then philosophically, you can ask, well, what about God? And I have to say, this is where I differ from you, is that I've never seen the evidence of God, not clearly. I just, and I've had this debate so many times with all kinds of people, deists and all. I've discussed all that stuff, deism versus no deism or pure atheism and so on. And I just have not decided on the whole God thing yet. I can't say. But I do know there are ghosts. Yeah, there's an afterlife, all right. That is, and what I mean by afterlife is that our consciousness goes on after we die. I'm quite sure of that.
Yes.
And
I think that's very powerful. Yeah. Very true.
Yeah.
A
friend of mine's a deist. He's a Gaia. He believes in Gaia. Now he was raised as a Christian, and now he's a Gaia guy. And I can see where he's making mistakes, though.
Oh.
When he says there is a Gaia, I can see his errors.
Oh.
What he calls evidence is not evidence of Gaia, and that's just my opinion. So, my opinions have changed over my lifetime.
Sure,
no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Even my most basic assumptions. We have these primary assumptions that we grow up with. And my father was an atheist. He wouldn't allow a Bible in our house. He was he was a militant atheist guy. And my mother wanted to be Christian. So there was some conflict there, but I never got any religion till, I never knew anything about religion. I was completely ignorant of it. Still am, actually. I like Buddhism, though. I'll listen to Buddhism. It's pretty cool. I can dig Buddhism.
Yeah, Buddhism is pretty cool. I mean, I think they're all beautiful in that they're humankind's desire to understand the divine, and I think that in and of itself makes it a beautiful endeavor. But I don't know if any one religion has it right, or if any of them do. But I think there is all of them are correct, but I don't think all of one of them is correct. So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Agree.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's the way I think of it too. Yeah. Weird, eh?
It is weird, brother.
What a universe.
Yeah, It is very weird, that's for sure. But I really appreciate you calling in, brother. It's always a pleasure to hear from you. And email me if you would, please. I got something I want to ask you about there. Okay?
Good deal, man. I'll do it. Okay, I'll let you get on to your next show. So.
All right,
okay,
brother.
Bye now.
Take care now. Thanks for the call. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Jim from British Columbia. And then we got another call here, and this is from, I don't know where it's from, but it's on the horn. It's blocked and anonymous, so we'll see who it is.
Oh, hi, Brent. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. Who are we talking to?
My name is Steve. I'm from Michigan. Do you believe in the existence of the Michigan Dogman?
I do. Yeah, I do, for sure. Yeah, I think.
What about the...
Oh, seriously, dude. What? You didn't really say that, did you? What an ass. God. I'm so sorry. What a complete and utter idiot. All right. I don't usually cuss on the show, but that guy's an asshole. And, don't ever call my shows and disparage or drag down another person or kind of people. That's not okay with me. That's the kind of thing where I go from zero to pissed, like now. You're an idiot. You shouldn't even have an internet connection. You should probably just still be working with coloring books and some Sesame Street, because you're about as bright as a freaking candle. You're a knucklehead, and don't ever call my show again. So, that's all I can say about that. All right. So anyway, there should be an IQ test on some of this stuff. It's like, yeah. There's another. Hey, he's calling back. Yeah, I'm probably gonna talk to you again, you knucklehead. So that'll be all for that clown tonight. Anyway, yeah. Don't bother calling back. I see you're on the board there. You're never gonna get on my show again. You're all done. So. Let's continue. All right, folks, we have a lot more to cover here tonight. And yeah, he hung up again. Oh, good. Yeah, don't even listen to my YouTube channel. Just change it. You're no longer welcome here, whoever you are. You're no longer welcome here. You're an idiot. You shouldn't have anything other than maybe 2 cans with string to talk through. Ugh. All right, I got to breathe for a second. Yeah, beat it, loser. Yeah, exactly. I don't know how people like that function. He's still trying to call in. Yeah, it's not going to work this time either, you knucklehead. You can keep trying all night long, and you're going to look like a knucklehead. But have a good time there listening to my show in your ear where you don't get to talk anymore. All right. No, you've never seen me fired up, but I haven't dealt with that before on the show. Mostly because people have a modicum of decency. Like they have a modicum of caring for people in the world around them. But then there's knuckleheads like that think it's a great time to call and be a bigot. I don't have time for any racism in my life. I don't have the time for disparaging people. I have friends of all nationalities and all walks of life. And I don't care who you are, what your standard is, but you're not better than any of them, and you certainly don't get to talk like that about people like that around me. So that's not happening. We don't play that in my playground. And this is my playground. Welcome to the portal. And so, yeah. What an ass. Oh, God. You'd swear. You'd swear. It's got like 3 firing neurons going in there. And one of them is, I'm sure, food. The other one is going to the loo. And the other one is how to be an idiot. He's like, that's the 3 he's working with. And I guess we know what one just fired off a little bit ago. In fact, you know what, to be honest with you, I'm not even going to take any more calls tonight because I don't know if he's just going to spam us his number as something else. I mean, he blocked it on the first time, and I just had one trying to call in from Georgia. But now that I said that, it hung up. So he's trying real hard to get on here again to do that. But I'm not going to give him a forum for that. So anyway, and mods, watch the chat. If anybody comes in acting like an idiot, just give him the hard boot right away. No time for that on the portal. So, yeah, exactly. Well, you know, Ethan, we do a good job here. Keeping the portal clean. We've done it for years. And it just takes one freaking genetic misfire like that to come in and just frost my bacon. Boom. Yeah, try another one. Try another one. There's another call, but I just can't do it. We're done with phones for tonight. So anyway, I do apologize. But for those of you that might have called in and been a part of the show, I do apologize. But it just takes one social knucklehead like that to really screw it up for everybody. So I see we got a call right now from 814. Just so you know, I'm not taking calls anymore. So I do apologize, but you can thank that genetic misfire that just called in for screwing it up for everybody, because we're not playing that anymore. All right, let's move along. It just, oh God, it just, you know, it's just the internet. The internet there's no, here, just a little cussing. The problem with the internet is there's no ass kicking clause. You know, it's like there's an idea that because I'm on the internet and I'm on the phone, I can do this and nobody can do something to me. You take a same idiot like that and put him in a social area where he can get his ass beat. He'll be the choir boy sitting there quiet. But they always get loud and stupid when they think they're safe. Well, nothing I can do about it. But anyway, that's my soapbox for tonight. All right, let's continue on. We're going to go into some more articles about this fun, crazy stuff that we call the paranormal, but we got 3 minutes to go. 2 minutes to go, roughly, till the break starts, so we'll see where we end up, but we'll find out. We'll find out where we end up here, but I don't think it's quite enough time to get into it. But when we come back, we're going to talk about some hikers and campers and rangers sharing their eeriest experiences in the wilderness. Or are we going to do that one? Or are we going to do Pentagon Admits? I still got stuff pulled up from days ago that we haven't gotten through, but that's okay. I'd much rather have discussions and dialogues with all of you than to just sit and spit out articles. I love talking about articles, and I love that they create a conversation for us. But yeah. All right, so we're going to go to the break here in just a couple of minutes. I would like to take this moment and say, if you're listening on TFR, iHeart, tune in and TalkStream Live to stick around after the show, because Paisley Wild will be coming up next, and she does the spaces between, and she does a wonderful job on her show talking about esoteric ideas, paganism, occultism, new age thinking, just really a real robust and well-rounded show dealing with living well. And she's a wonderful friend as well. So if you can support her, that'd be really cool, because she works hard doing it, and she's a lot of fun to listen to on top of that. Just a gentle soul. So check out that show coming up next right after this show. And if you're on YouTube and you want to check her out, you can check her out youtube.com/thespacesbetween. And that's an option for you as well. So worth checking out. And then later on, of course, tonight comes World Bigfoot Radio, and that'll be coming up after that. So there you have it. Lots of good things yet to roll tonight. Boom, 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 boom. And I'm just waiting for the bell again, because the clocks are a little off tonight. I think we're about 30 seconds off, roughly-ish. And there's a lot more to come. But I'm sorry for that. I do have to apologize to all of you because I shouldn't lose my cool over things like that. I mean, it's part of the landscape of doing a show. Some people just want to, utilize any opportunity they can to be a dick. And that guy's no exception. If anything, he's proven the rule. But, me as the host, I should move away from that stuff quicker. But I don't know. It just really, I guess it hurts to hear someone talk like that because it's such a cold and ugly thing. And I don't know what to do with it. I don't let people talk like that around me. And I certainly wouldn't let them broadcast their voice to a worldwide audience and say those same kind of things. It's just very horrible. So, I'm sorry I wasn't able to catch it before. But we're just waiting for the bell now. But I do want to apologize, just so you know. I don't like to use harsh language on the show. And I think for the most part, I was gentle. You can hear all those words on network TV, so except for that idiot's words. But anyway, that's not. I'll have to go. I'm actually going to have to edit the YouTube video now and take that out. That's unfortunate because I lose the live chat then, and I hate losing that live chat. But anyway, folks, we'll be right back in just a couple minutes. Last break of the night. Don't go away. More of the portal yet to come. Hey, everybody, welcome back. Last half hour of the show. It's been a hell of a journey tonight, but I think it's been a good one overall. Great to see everybody. Hey, I'm Kat. How you doing, brother? Hope everything's going good for you. You'll have to touch base with me and let me know how things are. I know you just went through a bunch, but I'm looking for an update. Hope you're good, man. Giving you lots of love, sending you lots of love. But 1/2 hour to go. Well, actually like 24 minutes of the portal. But I want to cover this article because I've been dragging it around for about a week now and haven't actually used it. So we're going to use it now, folks. And this is an article that's coming from the Occult Museum. The Occult Museum. And it's an article they have here. It's called 15 Hikers, Campers, and Rangers Share Their Eeriest Experiences in the Wilderness. It's good to remind yourself the world is bigger than you are, even if those reminders come in the form of terrifying encounters in the great outdoors. All right, so let's get into this. Oh, micro font. Hooray. Oh, it's bigger. It's bigger. Okay. Wouldn't it be nice if life was just that easy? Let me just make this bigger. Sorry, that sounded largely inappropriate, which was not my intention. That was not where I was going with that. But I got like this Don voice in my head that would totally what would Don say? I've got like a WWDS bracelet on. What would Don say? What would Don do? And Don would be having a hilarious laughing fit right now because I made that reference. But he's a gem. Says there's nothing better than sitting under the stars with friends and family around a campfire, getting away from the normal hustle and bustle. What the hell is bustle anyway? Anybody want to help me out? Isn't that like a part of a dress? Well, Kate, you're not wearing a bustle. How lewd. And everyday life by sharing a good horror story or two. But what if those stories turn out to be true? From strange encounters with smiling men who are not at all what they first seem to be, to terrified campers who stumble across ancient altars in the woods and ghostly footsteps that creep around in the dead of night. I bet you those are Squatch, by the way. Here are 15 true horror stories shared by hikers, campers, and rangers who dared to venture into the wilderness and then into the beyond. The first one is A Perfect Circle. I was backpacking in the Beartooth Wilderness in the early 2000s with a good friend of mine. 3 days into the hike, we'd only seen one other couple. On the third night, at about 4 a.m., we were all awoken in our tent to what sounded like screams in the forest. Big, guttural screams. Obviously, we were freaked out, sitting in the tent, not knowing what was out there. We started hearing what sounded like hail for about 15 minutes, followed by heavy footsteps near our camp. My friend and I started yelling and making tons of noise, and the commotion outside the tent slowly came to a halt. In the morning, after not sleeping at all, we unzipped the tent to the creepiest scene. All around the tent were literally thousands of little pebbles that were not there in the evening before. Surrounding the tent in a near-perfect circle were 20 or so 150 to 300-pound boulders. My friend and I noped out of there, making a 3-day hike into one, practically running the entire way to the car. And it's signed, I hate New York. So again, that's actually very, very, it might have been a whole troop of Sasquatch there. They probably just surrounded that campsite and just rained pebbles and rocks down. And that would certainly account for the screaming and the loud the footsteps, although the boulders probably made some pretty serious thumps as they landed too. But that is freaky. Can you imagine? I mean, if they had wanted those hikers dead, those hikers would have been dead, because obviously they can throw those things with absolute precision. And they missed because they wanted to, but they were just trying to freak people out. Sorry, my eye is just burning. It's that oily skin thing. All right, so that was the first one, folks. The next one is The Helpful Stranger. I've got to find my eye drops. Hold on. Oy. I can't see. When it happens, it's just nasty stuff. Oh, that's not the right one. Sorry. I got my Boy Scout bag here next to next to the show. It's not even in here. No, it isn't. All right. I guess I'll just have to tear it out over time. All right, The Helpful Stranger. When I was about 18, it says, now this is the narration. This is me reading the words as they appear. So this isn't me using improper English. When I was about 18, me and some friends took a road trip about 7 hours down the Apalachicola National Forest near Tallahassee, Florida. We're going to do a little car camping, drink a few cold natty lights, 18-year-old stuff. As such, we didn't want to be bothered by any park rangers, so we drove way deep into the woods. Got there, set up camp, had some natty lights, and me and a guy decided to do a little exploring, so we walked to about 100 yards from our site back to the main road and saw another path directly across from us and started walking. Immediately, we started seeing signs that someone had lived there for a while. Big bags of trash, stuff like that. Should have been a huge red flag to turn around, but 18, nothing could hurt us. So we get to this campsite of an older white guy living out of his van. Clothesline strung up, coolers, places around it, and a big, gorgeous dog. I think maybe a golden retriever. We tried to back out, but he sees us and starts talking. He's friendly enough and asks us where we're from, tells us about some cool spots to check out in the park, and we end up chatting for about 10 minutes. Oh, now the other eye. Oh, about 10 minutes. Where the hell am I? For about 10 minutes and then go on our way. I kept thinking to myself how odd it was that he gave directions in steps, not yards or miles. Guy always seemed to be off balance, but not stumbling drunk, but like he was walking on a balance beam, swaying from side to side. Oh, and he was super excited to talk about national parks and forests where we were from. Okay, camping part over. We went back to our tents. Fast forward 2 months, same buddy calls me late at night and tells me to turn on the TV to the news. I oblige and see an old dude with a van. You see, this is you see where this is headed, but I didn't. So I get PO'd at my friend for waking me up. No, watch. And then I see the golden retriever, and it all clicks. What the hell? That's man, name was Gary Michael Hilton. Convicted of at least 4 murders. He kidnapped and murdered a girl on Blood Mountain, Georgia, an older couple in Pisgah, North Carolina, and a girl in the Apalachicola at the same site not long after we left. Yes, the very same places he had been talking to us about. Obviously, we call the cops. They put us in touch with the FBI. F is for Florida. And we get flown down to take and talk to the investigators and take them to the campsite. Oh my God, sorry. Oy, oy, oy. I'm getting all weepy here. Take them down to the campsite and point out every spot we saw anything. Tell them exactly where he told us, and then to show them the places he described to us. I didn't find out until after the trial, but apparently they found what appeared to be partially destroyed human finger bones in an area near the site. Oh, that's horrible. I think there's a similar story about Ted Bundy, and I think it was very early in his spree of killing people, but this couple was walking into the forest and they came across this place, and they all felt really weird, and there was this guy looking like he didn't belong, and I'm really, really paraphrasing and probably very poorly, but they said they exchanged a few words, but it felt weird, and they just left, and come to find out that that's the location, and that was the person. That was Ted Bundy, and he had just murdered someone right there. And what a horrible, horrible thing. Oh, I can't imagine. All right, this one is the Charred Altar. A few summers ago, I was canoeing in the Boundary Waters with some friends. A few days into our trip, at least 2 days of paddling from the nearest entry point, we found the creepiest campsite on an island. There was a brand new abandoned camping equipment everywhere, like sleeping bag, camping pad throughout the campsite, sticks with the ends charred that had been stuck in the ground. And the remnants of the fire was heavily charred toothbrush, along with the remains of a wallet, glasses, papers, and some clothes. The creepiest part was near the edge, where a single petrified moose altar had been wedged between some boulders and surrounded by charred sticks in a circle. We got the hell out of there and as far away as we could before night. One of the creepiest things I've ever seen, and it looked straight out of a horror movie. Yikes, that's horrible. I don't know, you got to wonder what happened there. It's like, okay, what's been going on here? Not good, but this one's called The Last Campsite. When I was young, my dad lived in an old log cabin about 15 miles west of Sheridan, Wyoming, in the foothills of the Bighorn Mountains. Every summer when I was visiting, we would go up into the mountains backpacking and fishing for 2 days every weekend. We'd park the truck, hike into a remote area fishing for trout along the way, and make camp wherever we ended up. And we encountered a number of strange, creepy things and got into some scary situations with wildlife, but the one that sticks with me the most was an ancient abandoned camp that we found. We were hiking down a very steep slope and get to an area of a creek that had been dammed up by the beavers. Hoping to catch some big trout, I'd climbed out on a rock ledge and was looking for a way down when I saw the stock and action of an old rusty rifle sticking out of a tree where the tree had grown around the barrel years before, about 10 feet above the ground. And Dad and I climbed down to check it out, and we found a small cave at the base of the rock formation, only about 12 feet deep, which would make a nice natural shelter, but a very terrible place to set up a long-term camp. Inside, we found a bunch of really old stuff, 3 heavy-gauge unopened cans of food, an old cast-iron pot that had holes rusted all the way through it, a crusty old saddle and bridle set, and a very deteriorated heavy wool blanket rolled up and tied with a leather belt. And when we unwrapped the blanket, we found several personal items, including a rusty old cap and ball, black powder revolver, a leather satchel, and a lead pistol shot, a powder horn with no black powder in it, and tarnished old cartridges, presumably for the rifle in the tree, and a straight razor. And most unsettling was a shirt with holes in it and over half of it stained with dried blood. As we stood there thinking about what all of this meant, it occurred to me how remote this place was even at that time. It was July of 1985. And the fact that whoever owned the shirt had probably been very seriously injured, stuck on a steep slope in the middle of absolutely nowhere. And I got serious chills down my spine. The only thing that somewhat dated this fateful campsite was the pistol and the rifle, both of which were made sometime in the 1870s, according to my dad. There's no way to ever know what happened to the man who owned all this stuff, but the fact that he or someone he knew was obviously shot twice with either a gun or arrows, and all of his belongings were sitting right where he left them, possibly 100 years later. It was highly unlikely he left that area alive. Discovering what amounts to a 100-year-old crime scene in the very remote wilderness kind of gave me the creeps, but mostly it just made me sad to know how hopeless and alone this guy must have felt when he died. Yeah, that's true. This one is The Mysterious Rescuer. My family used to camp in Algonquin Park in Ontario when I was a kid. We used to do a lot of the day hikes with our dog. The dog was a crazy runner and would run up and down the trail back and forth between my parents and my brother and me. This one trail ended with a lookout, and my brother and I stopped to take into the view, and my dog arrived seconds later, traveling at full speed. He attempted to apply the brakes, but the momentum carried him right over the edge. We freaked out. Our dog had just gone over a cliff, and it was a good 50 or 60-foot drop. I ventured over to the edge to look, and my dog had somehow landed on one ledge that sat about 10 feet down. Oh no, well now what? Any movement and my dog would fall the rest of the way down. It was a sheer face and no way to get down. Out of the blue, from the trail behind, appears a hiker with full climbing gear. Algonquin is not an area known for a lot of climbing, and I've never seen anyone before or since with gear on that trail. The guy belayed down, rescued the dog, packed up, and left. He didn't even stick around long enough to get his name. 12 to all intents and purposes, he just returned to the trail and vanished. Wow, that's a great story. So was that some kind of an angelic visit or something, or what's going on there? That's pretty cool. Number 6 is lights in the sky. Oh, that is actually MCAT. You know what? We'll take this call. This is MCAT. I know it's him. All right, so this is area code MCAT. How you doing, brother?
Hey, brother. How are you?
I'm good, man. How's everything going?
Good. I'm home. I'm feeling better. Just saw the doctor today. Everything's looking good so far. So, and we just moved into the new place.
Oh, really?
So things are looking good.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. And it all worked out okay with work and stuff?
Yeah, everything's working out okay. In a couple of weeks, I'll be back on the road.
All right, brother. Good deal. I'm so happy to hear that. So thrilled to hear that, man. That's great. Fantastic ending to an incredible story and scary, absolutely scary story.
Yeah, it was. It was pretty spooky.
Well, we're glad you're home, and I hope you're taking it easy and not bending yourself over, doing your usual pace.
No, I've been taking it pretty easy, actually.
Okay. Well, groovy, man. That's great news. That's a great update. I appreciate that.
All right, brother. Well, have a good night. I just wanted to give you an update, and I will talk to you later.
All right, man. Well, as always, you got our love, and let me know if you ever need anything. I'll do whatever I can. So take care of yourself, brother.
I'll do my best. I'll talk to you later.
Okay, we'll see you. That's cool. That's cool. He just had a health issue, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you that might not be familiar with the story there, but MCAT's been a longtime friend and part of the family on the portal for years, and he just had a hell of a journey dealing with some bad health, and it got pretty sketchy there for a while. So it's really good that he's home, he's safe, and everything worked out. Just an incredible guy, and he's, of course, we really pulling for him. So glad things worked out. That's a brilliant. All right, number 6 on our story here list is lights in the sky. This says, my family and I were camping on a lake in central Texas on a week with very few people around. Our spot was on the edge of the camp next to the woods, very close to the edge of the lake, and we were playing Pictionary by the campfire the first night. We were there when I see a light go by over the lake. I didn't think much of it. God, I just think I read this the other night. This sounds really, really familiar. But anyway, I'll just continue because we're reading it now. So I didn't think much of it. It was still focusing on the game when another one went by at the same speed following the same line. At that point, I felt a bit strange, but still wasn't too worried about it. And after that another went by, and now I point out, and my dad said he noticed it as well. We walk out past the campfire and campground lights to get a better view of what these were, and they continued to fly by over the lake, going the same speed and staying the exact same distance from each other. They were reddish yellow orbs. There was no sound coming from them. And now my whole family is watching in awe and disbelief. After about 15 go by, the last one was chased by a white ball of light that was much closer than the rest. We didn't talk about it much after discussing what it could be, but when we got back home from the trip, my mom looked it up and saw that people in town a few miles from our campsite reported seeing the same thing exactly the way we saw it. This is like a UFO convoy or something, or an orb convoy. That's really crazy. The orbs are really curious. It makes me really wonder what the hell they are. I mean, they could be, just some smaller craft, intelligent. They could be some kind of drone, just, controlled remotely or by an AI or something. I mean, I don't mean to imply that they're ours. I really don't think that they are. I think that they're probably extraterrestrial in origin, but I just wonder what they do. What are they doing? Are they just doing some kind of, extended survey and cataloging of our world, or what's going on? And if you think about it, that makes sense. They kind of are all over the place. People are seeing these orbs traveling all over the place in woodlands and, in deserts and mountains. They're pretty much everywhere. So if I was a alien intelligent wanting to learn about a place before, digging in and going there. I would probably do something like that. Send out these probes or whatever, to use a science fiction term, these probes that'll go check it out for you, give you all the information you need so you go in prepared. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Just throwing it out there. It's hard to say. But at any rate, very wild. This one is rocks were thrown at the tent. I once went camping up in Allegheny National Forest. Me and some buddies were all sitting around the fire talking, and as it got a bit later, we kept hearing things landing on the ground all around us. There were rocks being thrown at our tents towards the fire. Nothing too absurd. Could have been some hooligans at a nearby campsite, but looking around the area, we saw nothing. Anyway, it eventually stopped, and we went to our tents. A few hours later, we heard this ear-piercing noise that sounded like a woman screaming while running through our campsite, but much raspier. It was a pretty unsettling experience, and needless to say, but nothing more came of it. Wow. Anytime I hear these stories from campgrounds and people camping, and it has to do with sticks and screams and stuff, I always, obviously I just go to Bigfoot as my first possible suspect on those, because rock throwing has long been documented and believed to be the behavior of Bigfoot. And it's not necessarily an aggressive thing. It's not necessarily meant to be aggressive. I mean, there's what was it? I was watching something. I wish I had a better memory for recalling these things, but I was watching, I'm trying to remember where I almost had it. I think it was a podcast I was listening to, and someone was describing, it was actually my podcast. It was Marcel from the Washington area. And, he was talking about, in his tribe's history, there were, children that would sit on one side of the stream, and on the other side was woods. And they had long seen and experienced Bigfoot in the area, but they would basically play catch with Bigfoot, or, a stick would fly over and land, and the kids would run over and grab it and then throw it back. And then they'd be laughing and giggling, and then it would land over on the other side, and they'd hear the scurrying and running, and then it'd get thrown back over again, like they were playing catch. Yeah, it was Marcel that told that. I gotta get him on the to record again. His stories were so fascinating. He's got such an incredible lifetime of experiences, but I thought that is just amazing. But it's such a common behavior that's reported so much, throwing sticks, and it can be an intimidation as well. I think the story we just read, that it sounded like hail, and they came out and saw thousands of little stones, and then they saw the big 100-pound boulders that were thrown into. I mean, that is a little bit more aggressive. Now, what I think was going on in that situation was that they were probably camped too close to the family's, maybe it's a place where they may just stay most of the time, maybe raising really young ones or something, and they just got camped too close to them. And so they wanted to intimidate them to push them out. Now, I do believe that, excuse me, I do believe that the Bigfoot and Sasquatch are primarily very passive, I think, for the most part. Now, I know there's individuals that can very well be very aggressive and horrible, and maybe they've had a different life experience with people, and there's a reason. Maybe they've been shot at, maybe they've been shot, and so they hate people. But I think primarily, for the most part, the Bigfoot are pretty docile, and I think they really work to stay away from people as much as they can, but sometimes maybe there's nowhere else to go, and they got to kind of push back. And that could be those situations. Like, this could be ancestral ground for them, and they kind of feel like they should defend it. So anyway, that's about all the time we're going to have for tonight, folks, in going through these stories. I hope you've enjoyed them. As always, I love bringing you the show. With the exception of that idiot that called, I think we did pretty good. It's unfortunate that stupidity can leave such a big stamp on the night. I hope that's not what you take away from the show. I hope you take away that you had a good time, you enjoyed the talking and the conversation most of all. But yeah, Marcel is great, Ruth, you're right. And I've got to get a hold of him. I meant to record with him a couple times now since then, and my schedule's just blown up, and it's been crazy, stupid busy. So I got to get a hold of Marcel and make that happen. But again, folks, tonight, stick around. Paisley Wild, The Spaces Between is coming next. And then following her is World Bigfoot Radio with the Duke. And you can check out both those shows. Fridays on TFR is off the hook. That's all I'm saying. It's off the hook. So thank you, Donut. I appreciate it. Or Donald, rather. I said Donut. Donald, thank you. It's nice meeting you. Thanks for coming in and being a part of the show tonight. And to all the rest of you, I love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice, take care of each other, help each other out, find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. Good night, everybody. See you tomorrow with Don.